a new addition over there in red. The Debbie and Beth have taken on curating for us an engaged Buddhism poster board. So that is a kind of mirror of what's in the newsletter and on our website, so that when we ask what's the appropriate response, you might find some resources over there or suggestions or things that could point you in the direction of wise action. And also just say, it's really important to say, everybody, we are all bodhisattvas. We are all bodhisattvas waking up to be bodhisattvas and Buddhas in this world. And each one of us expresses ourselves in a completely unique and amazing way. So there are many, many different ways to help the world. And whatever is your way, please keep finding that out and clarifying that. And having said that, let's hope that the Sandokai helps us. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to say that there's a card for Jenny Dixon, who's been a long time Sangha member, and she's having some health issues, physically, emotionally, so she's having kind of a rough time, so she would love to hear from people in the Sangha if they would like to send her a little support. She's home. She's home.
Who is that, Constance? I didn't hear.
Jenny Dixon.
So can we put the shared screen, the Sandokai, and it's on page 8. And again, I'll encourage everyone, this is a poem. Just to enter it, enter the sounds, enter the phrases, the words. I'll share some of Suzuki Roshi's commentaries about it, and what he just keeps saying about everything is, you can't figure it out in your head. The beautiful thing about poetry is it invites us to enter with our senses and our body, our hearts, and see what comes forward. So harmony of difference and equality. The mind of the great sage of India is intimately transmitted from west to east, while human faculties are sharp or dull. The way has no northern or southern ancestors. The spiritual source shines clear in the light. The branching streams flow on in the dark, grasping at things is surely delusion. According with sameness is still not enlightenment. All the objects of the senses interact and yet do not. Interacting brings involvement, otherwise each keeps its place. Sights vary, quality and form, sounds differ as pleasing or harsh. Refined and common speech come together in the dark. Clear and murky phrases are distinguished in the light. The 4 elements return to their natures, just as a child turns to its mother. Fire heats, wind moves, water wets, earth is solid, eye and sight, ear and sounds, nose and smells, tongue and taste. Thus with each and everything, depending on these roots, the leaves spread forth. Trunk and branches share the essence, revered in common, each has its speech. In the light there is darkness, but do not take it as darkness. In the dark there is light, but do not see it as light. Light and dark oppose one another like the front and back foot in walking. Each of the myriad things has its merit expressed according to function and place. Phenomena exist, box and lid fit, principle responds, arrow points meet. Hearing the words, understand the meaning. Do not set up standards on your own. If you do not understand the way right before you, how will you know the path as you walk? Progress is not a matter of far or near, but if you are confused, mountains and rivers block your way. I respectfully urge you to study the history, to have your gaze and eyes in it. So we are coming to the end of the Sandokai. We'll focus on it this week, Tuesday and Thursday, and next week, Tuesday and Thursday, and then we will all completely understand and be enlightened and go forth in kindness and goodness and a fair amount of delusion if we're human. So the phrase that we're going to focus on today is Suzuki Roshi's. We're using branching streams flow in the darkness, his commentary, and we're going to use from talk 11. Hearing the words, understand the meaning, do not set up standards on your own. Hearing the words, understand the meaning, do not set up standards on your own. Suzuki Roshi's kind of gives a little phrase, or the people who did the commentary brought forward one of his phrases from the talk, and his is, you should not stick to words or rules too much. We all want to know what to do, right? We all want to get it right. We want to be helpful. We want to be kind. We don't want to do harm. But what is that? And if you just tell me what to do, I'm sure I can get it right. But then that's a setup in itself, right? I mean, it's just like, so one of the nice things about the Sandokai is that it was written in a time when there were we human beings can kind of set up dualities and wars about anything. And this was kind of a religious war of the northern and southern ancestors and different teachers who thought they had it. It's like, this is the right way to understand this. No, this is the right way to understand this. And one teacher was, this is the teacher who has it together. No, this is the one who has it together. And one might not have to stretch your imagination very far to see some parallel in our time, just in a slightly different realm. But that's just what we do, is we pick our sides and then we take our ground in it. So I thought what I would do is I would start with, I wanted to just read to you from here and share. Suzuki Roshi is the founder of this lineage, San Francisco Zen Center lineage. I'll tell that to some of you on screen too, because some of you are only here for the, Suzuki Roshi's he's kind of a cute little guy. So I can't quite, maybe I can reach him. There, I got him. I mean, he was just doing his best too, but he's kind of, I like having this picture here because he just looks like you walked in the room and he's just happy to see you, and he just kind of wants to be here to try to help and find out who you are and what's going on, and we'll do this together. And anyway, so here's some of his words. Hearing the words, understand the meaning. Koto wo uke te wa sube kararaku su wu subeshi. That was Koto means words. Koto also includes everything, words, things, and ideas that we see or hear. Ukete, must be Japanese, means to receive or to listen to. And shu is the source of teaching, which is beyond words. When you listen to the words, you should understand the source of the teaching. Usually we stick to words, so it's difficult to see the true meaning of the teaching. I would say that's true of anything. People say something to us and we listen, we're listening through our conditioned ears, right? And then it comes in and we like it or we don't like it. But what if you listen to the space around it or through it? It's a whole other kind of listening. It's a whole other kind of embodied listening. Because everything is the teaching. I mean, everything is teaching us if we listen that way. We say that the words or the teaching is the finger pointing at the moon. I love that. I love that image. It's just, it's like, and then you think, this is it. This is it. I got it. But it's just pointing at the moon. So can we open our hearts and our bodies and our minds to the moon and the moonlight and the turning of sun and moon and basketball over there and us over here, and just the whole world is always here, and we're just, I got it. What did you get? What did you get? Words just suggest the real meaning of the truth. If you stick to the finger pointing at the moon, you cannot see the moon. We should not stick to words, but should know the actual meaning of the words. I'm going to just skip around in here a little bit. If you receive words, you should understand the source of the teaching that is transmitted from Buddha and is beyond each teacher's way of expressing or suggesting the truth. In other words, don't believe me. And don't even believe Suzuki Roshi. It's like, keep listening. It's like, what is it? Find out. Is the heart of this teaching is it's all direct experience. Don't believe what somebody else tells you. And of course we study the words. I mean, it's beautiful that words have been passed down. And I studied a little before I came here so that I could say these things, to be the finger pointing at the moon. But find out for yourself. The next sentence is, don't set up standards on your own. You should not establish rules for yourself. You should not stick to rules or be bound by them. Most people are doing that. When you say this is right or this is wrong, you establish some rules for yourself. And because you say so, naturally you will stick to them and be bound by them. Then you are naturally going to bind somebody else in whatever you think is right or wrong. And you're also going to bind yourself in terms of your own imagination and creativity to be able to listen deeply to what's really happening here. What's really being said here, and what does this situation really need? Because that's appropriate response. That's living Dharma and Sandokai. Rules are important, but you shouldn't think this is the only way. Our rules are true permanent teachings, or their rules are wrong. You shouldn't stick to your own understanding of things. Something that is good for one person is not always good for another. Like, who are you? What's important to you? How can I listen more deeply and be here? So you should not make rules for everyone. Rules are important, but don't stick to rules and force them on others. Most people start to study Zen in order to know what Zen is, right? Like, what are we doing here? What's this Zen thing? That is already wrong. Good work. They are always trying to provide some understanding or rules for themselves. The way to study Zen should be like a way a fish picks up its the way to study Zen should be like the way a fish picks up its food. It does not try to catch anything. It just swims around. And if something good comes, snap, a little bit like the frog, right? We're back to the frog. It's like, oh, what came in here? Nom, 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 nom. Just a couple more things. Dogen Zenji, who's the founder of this lineage, says the power of should not is good. that interesting? What is this should not? It's another way to say it, which I actually never, I'm always confessing about the things I never liked, and then I fought them for years, and now I think, oh, well, maybe there was some wisdom in that, is wise restraint. What is wise restraint? It is something intuitive, the very inmost function of ourselves, our innate nature. Our innate nature has its own function before you say good or bad. It appears to be sometimes good and sometimes bad. This is our understanding, but our innate nature is beyond the idea of good or bad. So wise restraint, one might say that what Zazen is, what we just did, we just spent a half an hour in the wise restraint of just sitting down on the earth in our bodies with our breath. And then all this wondrous, crazy aliveness and sensations and feelings and likes and dislikes. I mean, maybe that went on in your mind. I can't imagine. Maybe one or two things, one or two opinions arose or something like that. But the wise restraint is that instead of swatting at it or getting carried away by it, or maybe just a little bit, is you just come back. That's all. Just coming back. Just here. And then see what happens next. Because you're going to miss what the fish does, is just swimming around and, oh, it's like alive. Oh, something you wouldn't have even noticed can come in because we're not, we're using the wise restraint of coming back from reinforcing our habitual thoughts and habit patterns and just being open and receptive. That's what we're practicing doing. You just say, oh, here he says, don't try to understand through your head, exclamation point. You just say, yes, that's all. Yes, I will. Here I am. Time is going on, and we don't have time to say good or bad in each moment. You should go with time. That's all. Just say, yes, here I am, and then see what happens next. Okay, so maybe that was helpful, maybe it wasn't. But I'm going to give you some more just in case. Words. So I'll confess, I went to a demonstration this weekend. Boy, there's a lot of words. There's a lot of songs. There's a lot of chanting. I used to just love it when with the Buddhist Peace Fellowship, we used to just go and sit meditation, and maybe that'll happen again. Just the wise restraint of, I don't know, but I'm just here, my body with all of you, wanting everybody to be happy and well. And so I found, I remembered the practice that I love, which is as I wear my robe, because it reminds me actually that how I want to be. It's so easy to get pulled this way or that way, and I just want to be there with everybody. And then I start doing loving kindness meditation, because the more I'm there, actually, my experience is it really helps me, because when I'm at home, I just get upset. And when I'm out with other people, it's like, it just makes me happy, because we're all so delightfully confused, and we're all trying so hard. I mean, and this is with people who I wanted to go be with. What about the other people who are also trying really hard on their side too, to be with their signs and their slogans and their posters? And so how are we going to do this? So somehow I really love the practice of, I'm just going to show up just like I do here. And maybe that'll help somehow. Maybe we can just breathe in and out and be swinging gates and do loving kindness. And there was a guy standing next to me. My husband and I do this really differently. He didn't even really want to come because he's not so sure it's the right thing to be doing. And I kind of agree with him too. Who knows what to do? But there was this guy, I mean, he was just like, he was really angry. And he was saying, and he had all these signs and this and that. And I just, the longer I stood there, Bruce actually just said, I mean, I'm not saying right or wrong. He just said, let's go stand someplace else. And for me, I just loved standing there. I don't know, the longer I stood there, the more I started to love this guy. Because he was just like, he was just, I could feel his good-heartedness in the midst of the confusion of it. I mean, and I'm not saying there's not a line where you move your body, and there's not a line where it becomes harmful. But anyway, there's part of me that when I get with people, generally I get more dismayed and happier simultaneously, both. But I thought words are really, really important. Words these days, always. But so I thought I would do a little, don't set up standards on your own. And so what is, if we look at the Bodhisattva precepts, which are kind of the core ground of our tradition, mirrors of ways to be in the world, there are, I kind of want to do this for people who don't know these two. You start with, basically you start by taking refuge, and you take refuge in the Buddha in everybody. I'm shorthanding it, but it's basically, you take refuge in basic goodness. You take refuge in that everything is the teaching, and you want to be like the fish, and receiving, sending and receiving. And that we're all more deeply interrelated than we can even imagine. So that's what we keep taking refuge in, is while our little minds go to separation and right and wrong, is no, I'm just here with and for all beings. And I really do believe you're a Buddha, and so am I. And we're all a little deluded, and it's sad and it's funny. I mean, all of the above. And then come the three pure precepts, which is basically just try to do your best. Try to not do harm. And the third one is to act with all others always in mind. And that to me is always, that one always kind of feels like busted. Because I basically want my way all the time, you know? It's like, okay, take a breath, come back, wise restraint. I know you want what you want, but maybe you're not getting it in this moment. And then there are 10 grave precepts, which are basically about actions, but of the 10, 4 of them are about speech, which I think tells us a lot. Pay attention to your words. So, I was in Biak once, tried to tell this story. I was in Biak once traveling, and the statues had big noses, and we said, what's with the big noses? And they said, it's so to teach you to smell your words. I thought, oh, that's how that song will learn to get along. And I always think of that. It's like you can tell when your words get kind of stinky. So here are the 10 grave precepts that have to do with speech. Not to lie, but to be truthful. Not to intoxicate with substances, which is traditionally about alcohol and substances, but also, and I think maybe Suzuki Roshi added this, it's not to intoxicate with doctrines. Like, what kind of doctrine are you intoxicated with? But to promote clarity and awareness, not to speak of others' faults, but to speak out of loving kindness, and not to praise self at the expense of others, but to be modest. These all seem like pretty wise things to pay attention to. What smell your words. So, but I thought what I wanted to bring forward maybe a little more fully is early Buddhist teaching, the Pali teachings and the words of the Buddha. So the Buddha taught right speech in terms of both what to avoid and what to cultivate. His wisdom, the wisdom that arose through this person was to abstain from, same thing, lying, divisive speech, abusive speech, and idle chatter. So pay attention to what you're saying and how you're saying it. And the guidelines for positive speech or well-spoken speech is you ask, is it timely? Is it true? Is it gentle? Is it beneficial? Is it spoken with a mind of goodwill? And then he said too, because sometimes when you have to say something that maybe is a difficult thing to say, is it the appropriate time to say it? It's like I can look at my husband and this is not a good time to give him feedback. I'm doing the same thing with me. He's like, I think we'll just sort of take a breath and we'll come back to that later. There's so many opportunities to do this. So here's the Buddha recommended speech that created social harmony. I really think this is so important right now. Is what is speech that creates social harmony? Not to tell there what one has heard here and not to break people apart. Please practice not breaking people apart or ourselves, because of course, whatever we're projecting out there is some part of us is listening in here too. Slanderous and divisive speech is based on hatred and ill will. Wise restraint, take the backward step. Is it gentle? Speech spoken in anger that's mean, that's sarcastic, that has the intention to rebuke, demean, insult, or cause pain, has aversion at its root. And the antidote it's taught is patience, which again is wise restraint. It's like, come back, take a breath. What's here now and what wants to be said? The Buddha said, speak words that are soothing to the ear, affectionate, go to the heart, polite, likable, and agreeable to the people. How do you go to a demonstration and do that? I think that's a calling. How do you talk to the TV? Or the little hobgoblins in your own mind, you know? Dogen said, kind words can turn the destiny of the nation. Dogen said that. Kind words can turn the destiny of a nation. Is it beneficial? Is it kind? Train with metta and loving kindness. I was having so much fun training with loving kindness with this guy next to me. People honking and going by and giving the finger, and it's like, oh, this is real life, you know? Is it the right time? Sometimes it's wisest to stay silent, but lies of omission can also be committed by failing to speak. That's really important too. Silence isn't always wise speech, especially in the face of injustice. So I thought I just, and then I'm going to send you guys into small groups to find out what you know about right speech. You practice right speech. And often we find out about right speech by the ways that we stumble on ourselves or over each other. But the Soto Zen Buddhist Association just issued a statement about these times, and they called it a statement in support of compassion. I think they're nice words. Zen holds as a foundational truth that all beings are Buddha nature. That we are all interdependent, and the suffering of one is suffering that affects us all. Viewing the world as a boundless and all-encompassing circle of connection, we realize that no one can be left out or left behind. And then it goes on well, we'll put it in the newsletter and we'll put it on the website, but it really is the Sandokai of the harmony of difference and equality. Is there's so many different ways of being, so many different beliefs, so many different colors, so many different conditioning, so many, and that each person fully and completely has their own value and place, and that's our job. That's what a bodhisattva does. And we keep practicing it over and over because we watch our little minds, doing what we do, because we all do it. Little judgments, little thises, little that's. And then it comes out our mouths, and then we feel bad, and then we feel remorse, and then we take a breath, and then we come back and we try again. And then the more we try, the more compassionate we get, and the more humble we get. And this is what we do. This is how we wake up, and why we keep taking refuge in everything, because we realize everything is our teacher. So don't set up standards on your own, just pay attention. Be here, you little fish. Okay, so I don't know what any of you got out of any of that, but hopefully there's something. And we have, maybe if you get in little groups of 3, my question, and you can talk about anything that comes up, that came up in any of this, is what does right speech mean to you? I mean, I don't think it's just the opposite of wrong speech. And maybe you've got some little story about, I just came up with a good story about where I learned a big lesson about right speech. But, just little stories you could just, or just little insights. And each person can have just a couple minutes to explore it, and then we'll come back together again. Okay? Or anything else in any of this that you'd like to share. And let's try to find people that you don't usually talk to, and I'll put you guys in